Hello everyone, and welcome back to another reading of Cult of the Sacred Runes. This is a novel by the author Mad Snail, and it's the prequel to Tales of Demons and Gods. So I believe they take place in the same universe. It's kind of like Martial World and True Martial World. It's a rainy night outside, perfect for reading, so let's try to get a few chapters in tonight. Chapter 6. Yewei, I would like it if you can try and suggest how the stance can be improved. Ziyan tried to push him again for an answer, waiting to be surprised and see just how much he knew. About that. Not willing to give up anything, Yewei was trying to stall as much as possible. Dong dong dong. As Yewei struggled to deal with the situation, the muffled chiming of the school bell interrupted him. Finally, the lecture is over. Yewei felt relieved as the school bell saved him. He smiled at Lin Ziyan, scratching the back of his head and saying, Miss Ziyan, since the lecture is over, what do you say to resuming this discussion next time? Yewei knew that his statement would end this drama, as Ziyan was just a substitute teacher, and it was uncertain the next time she would be teaching Junior 3's class. Class dismissed. Miss Ziyan ended the lecture. Not you, Yewei. You are coming with me. Judging from the soul sensitivity Ye displayed earlier, Ziyan was pretty certain Yewei had potential. As such, she would arrange for Yewei to meet one of the rune masters for further assessment. Yewei really thought he got away with this one, but Miss Ziyan had other plans. He could not refuse an order from her, and therefore followed her out of the classroom, reluctantly. As soon as the two were out of sight, the class engaged in an intense discussion. Gossip and chatter filled the room. His senses are so sharp. I didn't expect that from Ye. I mean, we already know he has no talent for fighting whatsoever. Where is Miss Ziyan taking him? Probably to a rune master to verify if the show he put on was genuine. If that was real, he'd probably start studying under a master. The class was as envious as they were curious. They always looked down on Yewei because of his sentient, but with Ye's newfound talent, the tables were slowly turning. Cao Ning and a couple of Yewei's real friends were genuinely happy for him, and a bit jealous at the same time, like everyone else. Shut up! All of you! Zhao Qi slammed the table with a heavy strike, the veins on his arms bulging. Having the spotlight taken off him was hard enough, but taken by someone who he had been abusing, someone he deemed inferior, was something way more humiliating. Zhao Qi was drowning in envy. He couldn't deal with the sudden debut of Ye's apparently new talent. Frustrated and envious, Zhao Qi was in denial. It can't be true. Why don't I have greater soul sensitivity? Why can't Miss Ziyan look only at me? Lin Ziyan was only 15 years old, and she was already a 10-star student, one step away from becoming a warrior. When it came to her appearance, well, she was impeccable. Her soft, pretty face, graceful posture, and perfectly proportioned body. In the whole student body of Southstar Academy, there were no more than 3 boys who were attractive and smart enough to match her. That list of 3, of course, excludes Yewei, who was unknown until today. Lin Ziyan was a gentle and friendly person, but anyone who knew her well enough knew that when she talked to people she liked, she kept a bit of a distance to protect herself. Yet now, she was walking close to an unfamiliar face. It drew a lot of attention and eyes, and many people wondered who exactly was walking behind Ziyan. Feeling the intensity of everyone's gazes, Yewei realized becoming close to Ziyan would make him the center of attention, and, in turn, his every move would be observed. It takes a lot of self-esteem and confidence to overcome everyone's judgmental looks. How stressful must it be to be her boyfriend? Yewei wondered. Luckily, he wasn't. Walking down the gravel trail that ran through the campus, Yewei followed Miss Ziyan to the gate of Green Phoenix Hall. The Green Phoenix Hall was one of the female dormitories on South Star Academy's campus. Here resided the female scholars in the senior classes who reached the top of their class, and those who were soon to be promoted to the warrior rank. Being very close to becoming a warrior, Zian won herself a place at Green Phoenix Hall. She was then allowed to skip classes, not having to waste time in them, unlike ordinary students who usually needed to go through the junior, intermediate, and senior class to reach the 10-star level and eventually become a warrior. There were 38 junior classes, 36 intermediate classes, and 25 senior classes. And outside of these ranks, for the exceptional talents in South Star, there was a class for the gifted, of which Lindsay Ann was a part of. South Star Academy taught 5,370 students, but there were less than 100 qualified enough to live at Green Phoenix. Looking at the rows of classical, elegant houses beyond the gate, Yewei's mind wandered. His memories from half a year ago resurfaced. His brain remembered a time past, a girl and him, standing against the backdrop of these beautiful houses. With bittersweet memories slowly filling his head, the edge of his lips curled up slightly. "Hurry!" Yewei snapped out of his nostalgia as Lindsay Ann gave him a little tug towards the entrance. "Okay." Yewei nodded reluctantly, then unwillingly followed Miss Cian through the gate towards the isolated quarters of Green Phoenix. I swore to myself that I would never step foot near Green Phoenix Hall again. Images of the girl Zhou Yin flashed in Yewei's head again. He shook his head with regret, letting out a depressing sigh. Sometimes people drift apart from each other over time, but time also heals and changes a person. I should stop dwelling on this. Yewei let positive ideas overcome dark ones, holding his head high. A growing confidence could be seen in his eyes. Yewei followed Zian into a little courtyard, and next to it was a small house. Upon realizing that Zian herself lived there, Yewei was quite astonished. It was completely out of his imagination that Zian would have her own house and garden at Green Phoenix Hall, especially when the majority of students were assigned to smaller and less luxurious accommodations, sometimes even just a lone bunk bed. It must be great to be Lindsay Ann, Yewei thought. They entered the spacious training chamber within her house, and Zian was eager to get to work. Without saying a word, she hastily willed will force to the tip of her index finger. Primal energy flowed from her dantian to her fingertips, merging with the will force. And with her finger, she drew the 36 runes in the air, while making one mistake in the process. But the runes, nonetheless, formed a rushing tide pattern. Yes, it was the triple tidal palm. Yewei, now that we're alone, can you tell me what's wrong with it? Zian was determined to get to the bottom of this. Miss Zian, if I'm not mistaken, you were trying to test me, right? Why is it so important that I correct this? Does it really matter? Yewei fired a few questions with annoyance, while keeping a smile on his face to be polite. It would be game-changing. If you could correct this, I would refer you to an established rune master. You might even become his apprentice, and eventually, someone who really matters. Zian explained her intention sincerely. And even if you couldn't, I would still like to refer you to a journeyman who is not as brilliant, but his teaching may be more understandable for your level. Yewei was touched, having heard the confession and realized Zian had pure intentions. His frustration, which he partially blamed Zian for, over the scene in class and the hassle during the lecture, it all subsided. When he slept during class and eventually interrupted the lecture, he was seen as a careless student. However, Zian overlooked the negatives and tried to motivate him. He had only shown a bit of his newfound talent, yet she was ready to put a word in for him with an established rune master. Yewei felt grateful for Miss Zian's expectations. He couldn't help but admire her for her sincerity. No longer frustrated, Yewei opened up. Miss Zian, the stance you displayed earlier and just now had 3 very obvious mistakes. Yewei looked at the 36 glimmering runes in the air. took 2 steps back, and stood right next to Miss Zian, ready to give his opinion on the mistakes. 3 mistakes? Did you just say you felt 3 mistakes? Zian was flabbergasted. It was only now that she realized Ye Wei saw 3 mistakes. But I only left 1 flaw, she thought. Ironically, Ye Wei had assumed she left 3 flaws, not 1. How could that be? Chapter 7. Triple Tidal Palm was just a low-level stance, but it had special significance to Green Moon because it was the first mystic stance created by Green Moon City's own condensed prime level warrior, the great War Master Jiang Lu. Back in the dark times, when hordes of demons besieged Green Moon City, War Master Jiang Lu held the front line of the city's defense, leading the armed forces. He fought valiantly for 3 days and 3 nights in the fierce battle, and he eventually passed away from extreme fatigue, having slain tens of thousands of demons. Green Moon City would not be standing this day if it weren't for War Master Jiang Lu, and the millions of citizens have not forgotten about his contribution. The story of the War Master's noble sacrifice would forever be sung by bards and told by the older generations. For the Jiang family, the Triple Tidal Palm held great significance, as it was the very first creation of War Master Jiang Lu. Over the years, the Jiangs paid 7 visits to the Rune Masters Union and held small conferences with the Rune Masters, trying to perfect the stance. They could feel that there were some imperfections with the stance, but none of the Rune Masters could take the next step and pinpoint the flaws. Thus, sadly, the attempts to perfect Triple Tidal Palm to date have not yielded results. Lin Zian didn't carry the Jiang family name, but her mother did. Zian was the War Master's granddaughter. Having just heard Ye Wei found 3 flaws when she only intentionally left 1, Zian's hope surged as there was a chance Ye Wei could help perfect this special stance. She looked at Ye Wei, shocked at how strong his soul sensitivity was, and wondering where it all suddenly came from. So, what are the 3 mistakes? Zian tried to suppress her excitement. She looked at Ye Wei nervously. Ye Wei didn't know Miss Zian was trying to perfect the Triple Tidal Palm. Taking the task for a casual quiz, he raised his index finger up in a relaxed way, pointing at 3 connecting nodes between the runes. One of the flawed nodes was left there by Zian intentionally, though the other 2 looked completely normal for her and the Rune Masters who had been studying this stance as well. Nobody had ever said anything about these 2 nodes in any of the conferences. And how do you think these 3 flaws can be corrected? Would you show me? There was a trace of trembling in Zian's otherwise clear voice. Her eyes completely set on Ye Wei, engaging herself in this attempt to completely perfect the stance. I am only a 1-star student. I don't have sufficient primal energy. Ye Wei shook his head, feeling a bit saddened and frustrated. Ye Wei thought to himself, sighing, how does she expect me to demonstrate it? I'm just a 1-star student. I can barely draw a rune. Triple Tidal Palm was a low-level stance, but there were still 36 runes, each extremely complex and cumbersome. To correct the flaws was not an easy task, and it was even harder attempting it purely just by words, which was the only way Ye Wei could do it. Realizing she got carried away, Zian looked at Ye Wei apologetically. She completely forgot Ye Wei was only a 1-star student. Ye Wei still had a lot of training ahead of him before he could manipulate his ki, and even more training until he had enough ki and primal energy to sustain a stance. I'm sorry, but can you try to talk me through how it can be refined and perfected? Zian was getting a bit restless. Well, the connecting node between the 6th and 7th runes needs to be smoother, more circular. The 10th and the 11th runes need to be swapped, replaced by... Ye Wei tried to be as detailed as possible, but he struggled. as he did not know the proper terminology. Zian started to frown. She didn't understand half of what Yue Wei said. She did not comprehend much concerning advanced rune structures, because she was supposed to learn that after becoming a warrior. To refine a stance, one had to understand and be familiar with performing stances. Zian grinded her teeth in frustration. She was trying to think outside the box, looking for ways to make Yue Wei's method clear. Yue Wei, stand behind me. She blushed as she ordered Yue Wei. Triple Title Palm meant everything to her family. The Jiangs had been dreaming for decades on how to improve the first stance created by War Master Jiang Lu. This wish was the same for Zian. Being the War Master's granddaughter, she was not going to let this chance of honoring her granddad slip past her. Oh? The shy Yue Wei hesitated before agreeing. Okay. Yue Wei moved behind Zian. Man, if I was him, I would do the exact same thing. That's what's up. All right, good job, Yue Wei. Yue Wei moved behind Zian, keeping a breath of distance between the two as he started to draw on thin air, and Zian copied his motions. Following Yue Wei's guidance, Zian slowly drew the runes for Triple Title Palm. Feeling Yue Wei breathing down her neck, her heart started beating faster. It was her first time being so close to a boy. Zian took a deep breath and ignored the distraction. Her primal energy flowed through her fingers as she began drawing the runes. That's not right, Yue Wei scolded. As Yue Wei's voice faded, the half-finished rune imploded. It had failed. Zian was slightly disappointed, but did not give up. Let's continue. Yue Wei repeated the process a few more times, drawing in the air as Zian followed. None of their attempts were successful, though, and it took a toll on Zian's primal energy reserve. After several attempts, she was left panting and gasping for air. Miss Zian, how about just letting it go for now? We can do this some other time, maybe, Yue Wei said with a bitter smile. He then looked at Zian, and because she had sweat a lot during the attempts of refining the stance, her dress glued to her body, revealing her pale and flawless skin. Yue Wei lingered for a bit too long and started to have inappropriate thoughts, and he knew he needed to stop his mind from wandering. He blushed and turned his head around. No! Zian shook her head with determination. She needed to refine this stance while she had the chance. For her family, for her granddad. Zian reached into her pocket and found a white pill. She quickly swallowed it and sat down in a lotus position, restoring her primal energy and ki. Yue Wei was speechless. That was a primal spirit pill, one of the most valuable medicinal pills that most warriors couldn't even afford. In a lotus position, Zian was completely focused on restoring her energy, while Yue Wei just stood there. As he had nothing to do, he cast his eyes down onto her. Zian's slightly curled eyelashes, her delicate nose, pastel pink lips. Her features were exquisitely beautiful. Framed by her silky, shoulder-length hair, she resembled a goddess from the classical sculptures. Yue Wei's eyes followed her slender neck downwards, and his heart raced as his eyes stopped below her neckline. He could see her slightly raised breasts, not large, but perky, forming magnificent cleavage between them, and her light-toned skin was flushed, making her that much more alluring for Yue Wei. Yue Wei, being the teenager he was, and alone in the same room with the most popular girl in school, was an incredible feat and a rare occasion. His impulses were taking over his body. What am I thinking? Yue Wei shook his head vigorously, trying to rid himself of the impure thoughts. He took a very deep breath and forced himself to look up at the roof. But the thought of Zian's beauty, her body, forced his head back down, and he couldn't help but take this chance to look again. Just moments after, Zian opened her eyes. With the aid of one primal spirit pill, Zian restored all of her energy in a matter of minutes, Raising her head, she was about to say something. Her and Yewei's eyes crossed. Judging by how red his face was, Ziyan realized her posture had left her quite exposed. "Ah!" she exclaimed. Her shy face was colored red due to her blushing cheeks. She immediately stood up, not letting Yewei see her like that a second longer. Yewei was embarrassed. He tried to apologize but choked up instead. Ziyan adjusted her breathing and eventually calmed down. She was embarrassed too, but she let it pass without saying a word. At least Yewei knew it was a bit inappropriate, she thought. Yewei was a lot more honest and less aggressive compared to the other hormone-driven admirers she had. Let's continue. Ziyan was determined to perfect the triple title palm. Yeah, looking at how undaunted Ziyan appeared to be, Ye was affected by her vibe. Although Yewei didn't know why she was being so stubborn, he decided to help her fulfill her wish. Yewei continued guiding Ziyan, but the team had many more failures. Because Ziyan herself was relatively new to performing stances, let alone mastering and perfecting the triple title palm. Let's try again. You can come closer. It's okay. Ziyan lightly bit her lower lip, turned around, and told Yewei in a soft tone. How much closer? Yewei carefully took half a step forward, which brought his body just a hair away from Ziyan's back. He could clearly feel the warmth from her body rising toward his face. Ziyan's fragrance lingered around Ye's nose, and his heart started racing again. But he was focused on the task at hand. Ziyan's about to make a mistake, he thought. His hand reacted quicker than any sound he could make to warn Ziyan. With lightning speed, he grabbed a hold of her delicate hand and saved the rune. The texture of Ziyan's skin was so soft and smooth, comforting Yewei as he continued guiding her. Feeling the warmth from Yewei's hand, Ziyan's face warmed up a little bit. But it took no time for her to regain focus and steadily release primal energy, flawlessly, completing rune after rune after rune. Chapter 8. His back and her chest were tightly affixed together. Yewei could feel Ziyan's slightly curvy body, but he tried to ignore these sensations. He took a deep breath and focused on sketching the runes while holding her hand. Move that rune here, then erase these two. Now sketch them over here instead. Holding Miss Ziyan's hand, Yewei calmly helped her rearrange the runes. Nice, Ziyan nodded, concentrating on Yewei's advice, while rewriting and rearranging the runes. Still energized, Ziyan's primal energy was lingering around her fingertips. Guided by Yewei's hand, her energy left trails and formed runes in the air. The runes made a bell-like sound as they connected in an orderly fashion, forming a complete pattern. The pattern in front of Ziyan suddenly came alive. The title pattern emitted rays of blinding azure light. All the walls in the house were painted blue. The mystic stance was now completely perfected. This is the best form triple title palm can take. Feeling the stance had reached perfection, Yewei was brimming with satisfaction, causing him to finally smile. 3 roars erupted from the center of the bright light, together with the salty smell of the sea. It's finished. Ziyan was overjoyed because after Yewei's assistance, the runes connected much more smoothly. Therefore, it was much easier to activate the new stance compared to the old one. In the battlefield, even a split second could be the difference between life and death. The shorter completion time of the new title palm increased the practicality of it in actual battle. Triple title palm was just an ordinary, low-level spirit stance, even though it was perfected. Sadly, it won't be able to break through into the mid-level. But that doesn't matter. Grandfather's first stance has finally been perfected. The family always wanted to refine this, but all of our attempts have failed. I can't believe Yewei perfected it so easily. The key flow is much more fluid now, Ziyan said, as she appreciated the result. 2 more roars resounded from the epicenter of the bright light. As the sound of the 3 waves reached Ziyan and Ye Wei's ears, 2 more waves of energy surged out. Was that 5 breaking waves I heard? Ziyan stared at the stance in disbelief, as though she was hallucinating. Her face displayed a shocked expression, as she slowly accepted the fact that she had just heard 5 roars instead of the usual 3. This was no longer the triple tidal palm. This is the quintuple. This is the quintuple tidal palm. Yo, this is the quintessential quintuple tidal palm. This was no longer the triple tidal palm. This is the quintuple tidal palm. This is way more advanced than the triple tidal palm and should be categorized as a mid-spirit level stance. Ye Wei's refinement actually evolved the stance to the next level, a staggering achievement beyond belief. As the energy of the stance faded, a dazzling pillar of white light appeared, descending from the sky. It shone down on Ziyan. Bathing in the pillar of light, she looked angelic as the pores on her skin opened up, absorbing the cosmic power from the heavens. Upgrading, perfecting, and creating a new stance triggered this phenomenon. Cosmic energy is used to improve one's sentience and strength. Cosmic energy is pure and compressed, similar to the energy the sages harvested from the Mystic Mount in ancient times. If one wanted to obtain the same amount of power that the cosmic energy gave to Ziyan just now, it would take years by normal training. Bang! The cosmic energy entered Ziyan's body, breaking through the final Stargate. With all 10 Stargates open, Ziyan had just become a warrior. Witnessing this scene, Ye Wei was startled as he felt the vast energy from the Pillar of Light. He was determined to create his own stances, to gain cosmic energy, and from it, upgrade his sentient. If he could achieve that, he would no longer be a mere red sentient trash. The white light faded away slowly, eventually dispersing into luminant dust and dissolving into the atmosphere. Lin Ziyan turned around and looked at Ye Wei. Her eyes showed complex, mixed feelings of shock, disbelief, and gratefulness. Whoever still regarded Ye Wei as trash could not be more incorrect. A 13-year-old who possessed soul sensitivity strong enough to help evolve the triple tidal palm? With such talent, who would dare call him trash? Having displayed this level of soul sensitivity, it's almost certain Ye Wei can get a good rune master to study under and become one himself. Ye Wei has been studying at Southstar Academy for 3 years now. He wasted 3 whole years in a junior class. With his talent, if he had a good tutor 3 years ago, then he could be taking the exam to become a rune master now. Southstar could have produced a 13-year-old rune master. And now, it's just a dream. I'll find out who's responsible for his entrance exam, and we are gonna have a talk. Ziyan got emotional as she pictured how Southstar Academy missed out on a chance to make history. Ziyan, with a solemn, apologetic tone, expressed gratitude to Ye. Ye Wei, you helped me perfect the triple tidal palm and break through to warrior level. I owe you a favor. So if you have any wishes, or if there is anything I can help you with, please just ask. If Ziyan had known Ye Wei's capability, she would have given him this task of refinement long ago, as if he's already an experienced rune master. Ye Wei shrugged and smiled. Don't mention it. It's my pleasure. In his mind, being so close to Ziyan was the best reward he could have gotten, and you better believe that experience was already engraved in his memory. Ye Wei, were you treated unfairly when you took your entrance exam? If that was the case, I can consult the vice principal and see what went wrong when you were assigned to the class you're in. We should seek justice. Ziyan couldn't stop grinding her teeth. Her view of Ye Wei had completely changed at this point. He was a genius at birth and should have been assigned to the gifted class, and she was determined to help him get in. It's okay. I think my soul sensitivity started improving 2 years ago. Ye Wei answered quickly, because he didn't expect that Ziyan could just meet the vice principal whenever she wished to do so. Ye Wei didn't want to cause trouble, and technically, he didn't lie, as he knew the improvement was related to his dream from an hour ago. So that's the case. I see. Lin Ziyan nodded. There are indeed many cases where students develop their sensibility over time as they train. A legend even stated that some people could gain soul sensitivity while they were dreaming. Since that is the case, I will refer you to an extremely experienced rune master. He has a great reputation he built for himself over the years. So, if you do become his apprentice, I am sure you'll get the guidance you need to become a great rune master. Thank you, Miss Ziyan. Upon hearing the news, Ye Wei was overjoyed, as he expected his training would be much faster than ever before with the aid of a rune master. Drop the miss. You're like a brother to me now. Ziyan smiled at Ye Wei while her beautiful eyes transmitted sincerity. Thank you, Ziyan, Ye Wei said with a little unwillingness. Seeing how stiff and shy Ye Wei acted, Ziyan chuckled. Why don't you head back and rest for now? I'll go see the rune master now and will inform you if there's any news. Yeah, okay, sounds good, Ye Wei said to Ziyan, waved goodbye and headed out. He couldn't stop thinking about how close he was to the school idol, Ziyan. How great would it be if I can get this beautiful girl to be my girlfriend? However, she sees me as a little brother, sadly. Ye Wei realized the probability of them ending up a couple was very small. In the end, his academic achievements and his family background were nothing compared to Ziyan's. Oh well, there is still a sliver of hope. If I become a rune master in the future, I would definitely have a chance. Alright guys, that was the end of chapter 8. We're going to call it a night. Chapter 9's title is Dragons Don't Associate with Snakes. Guys, this next mini arc that's coming up is by far one of my favorites in the whole story. You're not going to want to miss it, so I'll see you back here again tomorrow. Have a great day or night wherever you are. And if you guys are enjoying this story, take the opportunity now to fully interact with it. Ye Wei is out there training. He's training his heart out, and he's starting his adventure. So I want you guys to get out there today or tomorrow and do some exercise so that we can all get a little bit stronger as we enjoy this story together. Peace.